Well, good afternoon, everybody. Today we're going to be just talking about real quick all the riots and crazy stuff we got going on over like in LA and Mexico City. So stay tuned with the guys. We'll get right into that. Guys, right now we got the Gerber paraplane. This is the medium sized one. Going to be a lot of background noise going on too, guys. So just have to bear with me. Now, when we're talking about those riots and stuff, I'm not going to be talking about that on a political kind of standing. It's mostly going to be on a preparedness kind of standing because those incidents have really shown how civil unrest is actually a very legitimate thing that can happen. And when it kicks off, sometimes it can happen right out of the blue. I mean, it'd be a nice, normal day. You're at the office or you're in the neighborhood, you're at your home. Everything's going perfectly normal. Then all of a sudden, pandemonium breaks loose. So I think that just goes to show you that it would behoove everybody to, at the very least, have a small amount of items on their person, or at least make it to where you have access to some items. That way, if something like that happens to happen, and you do have to flee the area you're in, and you may have to flee on foot. So it could be one of them situations where you're literally stuck with what you have at that very moment. So that's what I'm taking from it. I said I'm not going to get to the political part of it. I got my own personal beliefs like everybody else, but I want to focus on aspects that are more related to survival and preparedness and all that sort of thing. A nice little Camillus folding knife, pretty cheap. I believe it came in a pack of multiple knives, but for as affordable as he was, I whittled with them a little bit here and there. I've given one or two of them away. They come in different colors. Had I can't remember if it was a set of 2 each or 3 each, but we had clip points and these spear points. But pretty decent little knives. Make nice little backup kind of knives to throw in kits, spread them around if you can still find them. All right. And one of the things that I was thinking of is like where these places are happening at. Now, these are major cities. Pretty large, and so a lot of that's going to be more of what you need to have in your kit will be obviously dictated by where you live and what your own personal needs are and your skill sets. But one of the things I was thinking of was all those people like in office buildings and stuff like that, or at their job in general. They, especially the ladies, they may be wearing like high heels or dress shoes and stuff like that. Most people who are going to be dealing with a lot of public in some areas like that, they're not necessarily going to be wearing hiking boots and stuff. So I think that'd be one crucial thing to be able to have quick access to if you're working at a desk. Maybe if you underneath your desk, you can slide on a pair of at least sneakers, some comfortable tennis shoes in case you have to actually do some running or walking. Maybe get away with hiking boots, depending on where your area is at. Now, the main reason behind that is if you're stuck in that place like that, traffic's probably going to be pretty jammed up. You very well may not be able to get like a vehicle. So you might have to do some walking, and depending on how bad it is, you might have to do a lot of running. So having the ability to swap out your footwear could be really crucial, because if you can't run around in high heels and dress slacks or dress shoes and stuff and expect to be able to get anywhere without potentially hurting your feet, or like for the ladies, the high heels and stuff like that will probably break on you. You might end up having going almost barefooted. Now outside that, obviously we could consider the fact that how close are you to your where you live, or where you live at's even safe. So coming up with a plan could be something you may want to take the time and focus on. Like if you have any particular places where you live or work that could be targeted, if it, right now a lot of places like in LA and stuff have to do with law enforcement, special services, ICE, and all them places like that. Any place that's even near any of those places is obviously going to be at a higher risk right now. So, obviously consider that. One thing to a little more about the footwear, if you can, one set of clothing that would blend in, so you don't stand out too much. Like a casual wear kind of deal. If you can have that, plus a change out of footwear would do you a lot of good. So if you can get a small bag, maybe like a sling bag, or even a larger fanny pack kind of bag, try to throw some basics like that in there. And always keep an extra bottle or two of water. Maybe you can just grab one of those bottles of water in case you do have to run. Uh, in a big city and stuff, you probably have a far better chance to have access to another store or something like that if you can get away from the area to deal with hydration and stuff like that. So that's not quite as large of a deal. But ultimately, I think it's important to have a plan. A lot like your fire escape diagrams you have where you work. Those might make good escape routes. If you are unfortunately stuck in a place of business that is being accosted by rioters, keep in mind there's virtually no chance of talking sense into these people. I mean, you want to try to negotiate. Hey, calm down. I'm this. I'm that. I'm not part of this, or I'm not part of that. They don't care. And if you present yourself as a target, you're probably going to get hurt. And there's even a pretty fair chance you could get worse than hurt. So having the means to safely evacuate a building and then someplace safe to go after the fact is really important. So, and one thing could be important there too is if you can get maybe some other people that you work with to work with you. It could be on a multi-floor office building, even a second or a third story building. If you're marooned on the second or third floor, it takes more time and more effort to get down to ground level and try to evacuate the building safely that way. It's not great. So, no situations. I recommend doing a lot of research. Know the building you're in, viable escape routes. It could be they're all focused on the front of your building. Hopefully, you got a way to evacuate through the sides or the rear of a building. That way, hopefully, you can get out unnoticed and try to get to safety. Now, if it's a larger kind of riot, now I understand that law enforcement and emergency services are going to be very hard pressed to get to you if you're stuck in the middle of that. For one, the resources are going to be obviously dealing with spillover from the riot and maybe trying to contain the riot itself from, just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and spreading throughout the city. So, and that's another thing you want to be careful with, because as you're egressing, you could run into the authorities and they may not know that, you're not part of that group. So that's another thing to be wary about. So, being able to communicate is really important too. So that could be a thing too. If you come up and there's a group of law enforcement agents, maybe you actually have a whistle on you. You start blowing that whistle, do Morse code with the whistle, even though they can see you. The whistle should be loud and shrill and can cut through a lot of chaos and a lot of other noises. And most of those guys should be able to really quickly pick up that you're using a Morse code signal, just blowing on that whistle. That could really help a misunderstanding, or at the very least, you won't surprise them by, running up on their blind spot or coming in behind them. You do not want to do that at all, because these guys are very stressed out and they're dealing with a very dangerous situation. So you need to make your presence known, and do not, if at all possible, don't rush up on these guys. Approach them slowly, calmly. That don't make your bad situation worse by letting your emotions overtake you. So always staying calm and level headed is one of the greatest skills a person can have. And I say skill because typically that's something that you kind of got to learn and teach yourself. Uh, it's real easy to panic because, very scary situations and your adrenaline gets high and, that fear response kicks in. So you got to try to work on keeping that under control the best you can. Do some breathing exercises. Don't let the anxiety tear you apart. And the most basic, simple things are usually the best things that you need to take care of anyway. Like I said, this one here is not so much as a gear heavy recommendations, although, if I can, like, if I, for especially in that kind of environment, you're not so much out in the woods and stuff. If you were going to pick just one, something like this, maybe excluding the extra bits and even that, just the tool itself and a little emergency bag or a fanny pouch or sling bag, purse, whatever. One of these little guys right here can do a lot for you. But, I don't have a whole lot of kit recommendations other than like your clothing and your footwear could be very important in that situation, having some water. Now, if you're trapped in the building for an extended amount of time, which is highly unlikely, your bigger risk of is if maybe the building itself can catch fire. That's, and you have to get out regardless. But I don't want to beat the dead horse on it. But the main thing is have a plan. Be able to have a way to get out to safety. And I can't give you, a whole bunch of do this exactly. That depends on where you're at, what city you live in, what a town's like, what building you're working in, escape routes are available, what the streets are like, narrow alleyway. I don't know. You got all these options. You have to do some research and plan it out. Just have a plan and some basic stuff. Change clothes, some decent footwear in case you have to go on a run. Maybe even just a pocket knife, some water, a simple multi-tool, whatever have you. And at that point, the important thing is get safety. So with that, guys, we'll close out the video. Appreciate you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in another video.